Hello all, this is a dream I had on June 16th, 2011 that I wrote down a while back, and now I want to read it for you. I was in some sort of plot of land. It had some kind of big house or building on it, and the plot of land had a big field, but not that big. It was maybe 3 or 4 acres. There was some kind of fence around it, like a chain fence or something. I almost kind of had the impression that the land was located where somewhere around where I used to live when I was a kid, but I don't remember for sure. It just kind of had that some kind of feel to it of some kind of feel of remembrance to it. It seemed I remember I was living there with some people, but I don't know who we were, and or I don't remember who else I was living with, and there was someone next door to the west, uh, looking to buy the place, or maybe they owned it or something. I'm not sure. They just seemed like some sort of people of power, I guess. Um, but I remember feeling a bit uneasy about the guy. Um, and for some reason, I had gone out to talk to him, and something, and he had a child, a son or something, and maybe a wife with him, and they were there, and they were all there, and we were all standing outside of the gates to the west of this plot of land, and there was some kind of machine or device we were standing next to. It was some kind of car-like device, but I didn't recognize it, or else I wasn't really paying attention to it, or I mean, it just kind of like seemed like a car, but not a car. I don't know. And I remember something about this guy and his wife. They're handling the device improperly. They were like misusing it, and I was warning them that their child was gonna get hurt. Um, because of how they were handling it, and but they weren't listening, and then this device somehow overturned in the earth and crushed and mangled the son, and they were sad, and I helped turn the device over, and their son was all mangled and crushed underneath the device. Then I remember, so there was this fence that surrounded the land, and I was standing on the outside of the gate, and to the front, on the south side of it, the front of the where the gate um, was to the south, and there were other people or kids or something, maybe about my age, I don't know. Um, and it was like they were coming from the inner city and being taken here, and then I was back inside the fence, and it was like some sort of, I think I kind of realized that it was some kind of like camp or detention facility that I and some people were staying at, and more people were coming, and I was laying in the grass of the field inside the fence, and I was towards the southwestern edge of the field inside the fence, and I was talking with some dude about something, I don't remember what, and I was telling him something about me coming from some other country or some other place, and being taken here, and I remember I was laying in the grass, and it was nighttime, and the grass was maybe 3 or 4 inches tall, and I was thinking about that was kind of odd that I was laying in the grass, because I'm usually kind of skittish about sitting in a field full of like that tall grass, because there are bugs and snakes and all that, but whatever. And then suddenly in the sky there were countless numbers of what looked like stars, like little white balls of light, but they weren't stars. They were moving around, and I pulled out a camera and was like, this is definitely some real stuff that's happening. Like, people always saying they see UFOs, but they're always balls of light, and they take it with shoddy cameras and whatnot. And it's not that I don't really believe them. It's just that it's a lot of people claiming it's photoshopped or whatever, and I don't know. But I've seen some crazy stuff myself, but uh, but in the dream it was just like, the point is in the dream it was like it was right there and it was close, and I was like, man, this is some real stuff happening, and So I had this camera, and it was more like a a little video recorder, and I was like, and then off in the east, off in the distance towards the east, I saw a big star-looking thing. It was descending to the earth, and as it did so, it got bigger and bigger, and I could see it more clearly. And it looked like some sort of shining ship or something. I don't know. I was just thinking, man, this thing is huge, and I was capturing it on camera and thinking there's no way anybody could possibly deny this or write it off as lens flare or something, or photoshopped or something, because I mean it was like huge. It like just filled the whole sky, and it was just like this like huge shining star like spaceship thing, and it looked like it was gonna crash nose first into this hill off in the distance to the east, and it did. And when it did, there was a giant explosion of some kind, and then there was this really, really, really giant beast, like this beast. I don't even some kind of like dragonoid something beast. I remember seeing it. I just can't explain it. It was just this huge mountain-sized beast. It was like a mile tall, and I mean it was just big, and he was like, I mean it was just like Godzilla, like bigger than Godzilla. He was just like huge, and he was like raging in fury, and he was like causing war with basically the whole world, just like lashing out. And I saw all these giant lizard things. They looked like if I were to take a lizard, like a Gila monster or something, and scaled up to be big enough for a man to ride on. There were just like countless of them running out in all directions from that beast, and I was videotaping it all, and I was still inside the fence of this place, and these lizard things were running towards us, and they were breathing fire out of their mouths, and I saw others trying to run and escape. And for an instant I turned to run too, but then immediately realized there is just no point in running. You're just like, it's just like trying to run away from a tsunami when you're like standing there on the beach. It's like, dude, why? It's futile. And then I realized, hey, you know what? This is what I've been waiting for, right? God is on my side. Forget these things. So I turned around and stood my ground and waited for the end. And one of the lizard monsters things was running towards me, and I breathed, and it breathed this giant ball of flame at me, and I felt the heat coming, and I wasn't afraid, and I felt my flesh being consumed by the fire, and I wasn't afraid, and then my vision was consumed by white light. And then I was sitting in the back of a car, and someone was driving it, and there was a very young boy in the car that I thought I recognized to be a young version of my youngest son. And someone was driving the car, and I thought it was my wife. And I talked to her like she was my wife, and she was driving down some highway inside a city, and the road was high up, like a giant downtown metroplex where roads are stacked over each other, and we were on one of the top stacked highway roads. And I was talking to her, and for some reason I thought maybe I was somehow transported to the past because we only had one child with us. And I currently have 4 kids. So I told my wife that this must be the past before all that other stuff happens. And I thought all that stuff that happened before was a dream, and that I had woken up and it was the past. So I was kind of like still dreaming, and I thought I was awake. And I and I was telling my wife that I had just had a dream or vision of the future. Again, I thought I was still awake and at this point, but I was still dreaming, and she said something odd, and I don't remember what she said, but it caused me to think, wait a minute, either I'm still dreaming or this isn't the past or something. And I asked my wife what year it was, and she said like the year 56 something or 57 something, and I was like, wait, what? And I started looking around out the window of the driving car, and it seemed more futuristic compared to real life present day, but not too futuristic. we were driving down a highway or something, and she looked at me and said I smelled bad, and why was I wearing old clothes. I got the impression it was like I had actually transported to the future, and then I sort of got the impression that she wasn't really my wife and it wasn't really my son, but I still somehow knew them and was somehow connected to them or something. And and then I was looking around outside of the moving car, and there was these giant monster-looking things all around, but not like the lizards before. They were bigger, like 50 to 100 feet tall, and they looked like giant jellyfish or octopus-looking things, and they were glowing purple and were semi-translucent, and they had giant mouths with giant teeth, and the woman that I thought was my wife, she didn't seem particularly disturbed by them. She wasn't really noticing them in a they don't belong there sort of way. Like she had grown accustomed to them being there, and then she took some exit road from. They was ramping down into the heart of the city, and at the bottom there was something, but I couldn't make out what it was, and I think we were about to crash or something. But then I woke up, and that is the end of that dream, and I have spoken it.